Hi everyone, my name is Victoria and I'm a first grade teacher in New York State. Today I'm going to be taking you through a day of packing up my classroom during this COVID pandemic because it is going to be a little bit different than how you would normally pack up your classroom. And without any further ado, let's hop in. So the first thing is I don't know how long it's going to take to pack everything up. I'm assuming it's going to take a bit of time. So I am just going to prepare a quick snack really quickly. I have some fruit left over, so I'm going to do some blueberries, some strawberries, and some blackberries. And I also recently bought this brownie batter hummus from Aldi. I don't know how it's going to be, but I can let you know, I guess. So I'm going to just fill up this little container with some fruit, and then we're going to get headed on over to school. I've got my fruit, I've got my brownie batter hummus right there, and a fork. And now let's head on over to school. Okay, I just got to school and this is going to be the first time I'm in my classroom and my school in months. So I have this little bit of fear that everything's going to be moved around and out of place from cleaning. So I guess we'll see. So luckily nothing was really moved around or out of place from the last time when we were in school, which made it a lot easier because we knew where everything was. So packing up was pretty simple. So this is actually future me here, and I'm going to be interjecting with some clips of me talking and just explaining what you're going to be seeing. So actually, I feel really uncomfortable still talking to my camera while I'm in my classroom. I really don't have a problem recording myself teaching. I do that often as a reflective practice, but as far as sitting down and talking directly to my camera, I do feel a little bit uncomfortable still, especially considering that my support teacher was there and the teacher who shares the room next door, which you will actually see later on. We have a movable wall on the side, and it's actually the wall you may have seen in the last clip that has the shiplap bulletin board paper on it, and so that opens up, so it really doesn't keep any sound in my room. So I did just feel uncomfortable about that. But anyway, the first job that I had to do was to go grab bags and label it with all of my students' names on them. So I just pulled up the roster from Class Dojo and put it across the room on the smart board. And then after I did that, I just sat down and I pounded out labeling those bags. You want to start with the hallway decorations?
Yeah.
The next step was to take all of the bags with the students' names on them, open them up, and prop them in front of their chairs. So this way, when I was filling it with their school supplies, I would be able to do group by group instead of having to take each individual bag to their seat, fill it up, and then put it over on the rug before we take it down to the cafeteria. So this is probably one of the biggest differences with how we had to pack up our classrooms. Normally students would just be taking their supplies home the last week of school, but instead this year, since students will not be coming back to school due to the closure for the rest of the year, we are packing all their things into bags, and then we're just having a parent pickup day where we have all of the bags sorted by grade level in classrooms, and then parents will drive up, tell them who they're there for, and a staff member will go grab a bag before giving it to them. So the next thing you're going to see is just me sorting out the bags and putting them in front of their seats. Once that was all done, I decided that I needed to move on to something that made the room look different. So have you ever been cleaning your room and you're working on all of these tiny little things and you know it's making a huge difference, but you can't physically see it making a difference in the room? So that's kind of what was happening here, is that I was already a decent amount of time in between going to get the bags, labeling them, and then setting them out in front of the student seats, which took a lot longer than I imagined it would. So I decided next to leave the bags, just let it be for a little bit, and move on to taking down our word wall. wall down, and I was pretty jazzed about it because it was time consuming. I wanted to make sure that I was taking out every single staple because we had direction that we might have to also take down our bulletin board paper, and those walls are huge. If you look at their proportion to me and to the furniture in the room, they are so big, and all I could think was that I am not wasting all of that bulletin board paper. So I was fully committed to taking out every single staple so that if I had to take down that bulletin board paper, I could roll it up and save it for when I was going to put it back up. Luckily, we didn't have to end up taking it down, but taking down the word wall did take forever just because I was focused on getting every single staple out of it, even ones that were just like hanging out in the wall but not attached to anything, which I don't know why they were there, but you know, in the moment, you're hanging up bulletin board paper in the beginning of the year, everything's fresh, and you're like, I want this to last. I'm going to staple this in a million different places so that it doesn't fall. So I think that that's the reason why there were so many staples there. Anyways, the next thing I decided to do was to take down my alphabet, which is actually a custom-made alphabet that I make and that I saw on my Teachers Pay Teachers store. And so I didn't laminate it in my classroom just because it was very shiny the way that the lights were in our room, and I didn't want it to reflect off of them. So I ended up just taping them on the chalkboard during the year when I had changed it. And you'll also see the way that I have it set up is that one side is for vowels and one side is for consonants, which was really helpful for my kids. And then directly on the desk I had the alphabet in order laid out, so it was just a nice way to be able to refer to it during guided reading because my guided reading table was actually right there, and that's where my phone was set up to record for most of it, was back at the guiding reading table. I was like watering at the mouth the other day thinking about the Indian restaurant that's over here. Okay, let me just tell you, it was really hot in there, and I did not look up the weather before going in because I swear to all things that are good in this world, the week before it was snowing outside, okay, and it was May, but the weather was 85 degrees that day, and I was wearing thick leggings and also a sweater, and I was dying, and then I had my mask on, so I was just extra sweating. So normally I would be sweating packing up my classroom, but let me tell you, packing it up this year during the COVID pandemic where I also needed to be wearing a mask, I was just like sweating. My goodness, it was insane. Anyways, I ended up taking down the rest of the alphabet and I got that all finished. As you can see at this point, I was talking to my neighbor teacher next door. And so that was kind of fun. We got to open up the double door since we had both taken down our word walls at that point. And so we just kind of got to like social distance, talk, and take down our classrooms together, which was actually really nice because of not really being able to see family and friends right now. It was cool to just be in person and be able to talk to other people who are not just me while I'm sitting home alone in my house. But anyways, the next thing you're going to see is that I decided to go back to the bags and to start emptying the seat sacks and the drawers from the table groups and just pack up those bags with the students' belongings so that we could basically just get them out of there, because I figured if I could take down all of the seat sacks and then we could get all of the bags out of there, it would just feel like a breath of fresh air, because once again, I like to be able to see a physical change in the room. And while yes, the word wall was coming down and my alphabet had come down, I wanted to get things out of the room also, so it was time for those bags to go. Another quick interjection, and this is something kind of funny which other people might be able to relate to. When I was cleaning out seat sacks, there were like old snacks that we were supposed to be having, like during the week that kids decided to save for like Fun Friday, and also juice boxes that they had saved from breakfast, because when we had our last day in school, it was a Friday, and we didn't know until that weekend that we wouldn't be going back. And I just stuck my hand into so many seat sacks that were wet. I don't know why they were wet. And that had like old food in them, because it had been like 2 months at this point. And it was not a fun time, but it was definitely a story to tell. Anyways, the next part I'm taking off, the alphabets that I mentioned were taped onto the tables. Okay, so just finished today. We did not get everything done, but we did get a decent amount done. So we will have to come back tomorrow, but we should be able to finish it. So we'll continue tomorrow. All right, day 2 of packing out my classroom. Okay, so I did learn my lesson from the first day, and I checked the weather before leaving my house this time. It was supposed to be another hot day, so I in fact put on a t-shirt that day instead of wearing another sweater with thick leggings. But anyways, the first thing I decided to do this day was go through and make sure that all of my bins were labeled that I had purchased myself, just in case things got moved around or shuffled. I didn't want them to get lost or misplaced somewhere else. Okay, so here's our classroom now. Everything cleaned up. We opened the doors to the classroom next door, so that's what that giant space is. Everything's cleaned up. We rolled up that rug. This stuff's coming home with me, and then I need to roll up this rug, and then that's it. I didn't film much from today just because we were really focused on pounding out the rest of the work and just getting it all done, and it was really sweaty with our masks on when we were both here, and so we were like, let's just pound this bad boy out. So the last thing to do before turning off the lights and the smartboard and heading out was just to roll up that tan rug where I usually sit or lay down to do most of my work. And I think that rolling that up and then turning off the lights and just turning around and seeing a lifeless classroom was just a moment where it all kind of sunk in and made everything feel real. So that was basically everything that we did to pack up our classroom. We labeled all of our stuff. I don't think that you could really see too well in the video, but we took all of the furniture and we pushed it against the wall with the chalkboard where the alphabet used to be. And when I finally got to the point where I turned off the light and it was time to walk out of the classroom, and I turned around and just saw the lifeless room that was there that had held so many fond memories and like amazing moments with my students, it was just a moment where everything really felt real. But the moment that felt definitely the most real was when we were cleaning out the lockers and we had to take like their tiny little sneakers out and put them in their bags for their parents to come pick up. And it was just, I mean, taking down even their pictures from the bulletin board that they drew for us and their work, and just knowing that there might not be a time when we get to see our students again, it was very difficult, that's for sure. But anyways, thank you for joining along for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. I know before I was a teacher, one of my favorite things was to watch teachers set up and take down their classrooms, and that's actually something that I still do now to get ideas for my classroom to see how I want things set up. But I also really like watching like a day in the life teaching videos still, even though I've already had my own classroom now for 2 years. But it's just something that I think is really fun, so I hope that you felt that this was relatable. It was fun, and maybe it got like it scratched a little itch for you if you're dying to be able to see into a classroom. But I hope you have an awesome day, and thanks for following along.